Hello, thank you so much for joining us today for the second installment of our Fellowship Friday session. Today we're going to be talking about Public Service Awards. My name is Shay Masterson with the Office of National Scholarships Advisement, and I'm so happy to see you all today. To get us started, here's a brief agenda for what we'll be covering. First, we're going to do some quick introductions with who's in the room. Then I'll provide an overview of our office, the Office of National Scholarships Advisement, for anybody who's new to us. Then we're going to talk about a few different public service awards. First, some general funding options for those interested in public service. Then global or language awards, so things that can help you learn a language and or study abroad or work abroad during your journey. Then we're going to talk about some internship opportunities that lend themselves to the public service sectors, some postgraduate experiences. So these are opportunities to spend some time for a year or so getting experience once you hold your bachelor's degree. And finally, we'll talk about graduate funding fellowships that are directly or indirectly supportive of those who are pursuing public service careers. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some next steps. So just briefly to begin with introductions, again, I'm Shay Masterson, but I'm going to ask everybody who's with us today to take a moment and type into the chat just your preferred first name. What is your academic year? First, third, fourth, graduate student, whatever the case may be. And then tell us what is one kind of overarching issue or area that if you could, you would focus your public service career on. So that might be education inequity or homelessness or foreign policy, whatever the case may be. You don't have to have it all figured out, but if there's one particular area or issue that you'd like to have a focus on in your future career, share that as well. So again, your preferred first name, your academic year, and one issue or area that you'd like to focus your public service career on potentially. And I'll give everybody a moment just to put that into the chat. Okay, starting to see some responses come in. Public health, environmental issues, right? All right, as people want to continue to put into that chat, also feel free to ask any questions in the chat along the way. I'll stop periodically for questions, but feel free to put them into the chat at any time that you have them. So thank you all. I look forward, and hopefully there's at least one, if not many things that we're going to cover today that may be helpful for you on your journey towards a public service career. So next, we're going to go into, again, that general introduction to the Office of National Scholarships Advisement and national scholarships in general, just in case you're new to our office. So what are national scholarships or fellowships? So the awards that our office advises on. These are not ASU awards. They're not Arizona awards. These are national and sometimes international in their scope that can apply to where the funding is coming from. So typically it's coming from federal agencies, nonprofit organizations, private foundations that are national or international in their scope. So it's not coming from ASU or Arizona. The applicant pool is also coming nationally or internationally. So these are students or alumni from across the country and sometimes the whole world, depending on the award, who can apply for these awards that we're going to be discussing today and other awards that we advise on. And generally speaking, even though they often provide very generous funding for whatever your goals may be, they are also experiential. So it's not just about getting money through these scholarship and fellowship opportunities, but it's also about gaining some kind of experience that is going to be incredibly beneficial and integral to your academic and professional journey. So those experiences might be studying abroad, participating in research, having an internship that's national and international in its scope, some additional leadership or professional development in the field that you're interested in. In the case of today, that's the public service fields, right? Sometimes it's language acquisition, and sometimes it's an overlap of a variety of those kinds of experiences that will help you move forward in whatever your path is. And then all of these awards, whoever's funding them and what they're funding them for is very mission driven. So these are the scholarships and fellowships are coming from agencies or foundations that have a particular mission that's driving their work. And the scholarship or fellowship is one of the ways in which they're moving forward, whatever that mission is. So for instance, the US Department of State is one huge funder of national scholarships and fellowships. They fund a number of the ones we're going to be talking about today. And in general, the US Department of State's mission is, US diplomacy, right? Diplomatic relations between the United States and other countries and cultures across the world. And they do that in a variety of ways. And they have a variety of scholarship and fellowship opportunities for current and recent students to help promote that overall mission. So every scholarship and fellowship that is funded by the US Department of State in some form or fashion is part of promoting US diplomacy, okay? There's other funders, but just know that whatever the funding agency or foundation is, whatever their mission is, the scholarship or fellowship also is part of that mission. And they're looking for applicants who also share that mission or in some way can promote that mission as well. And last but not least, the awards we advise on are extremely competitive and prestigious. So oftentimes they come with a lot of name recognition. For instance, like the Truman Scholarship is the premier public service focused scholarship in the United States. If you're going to go into a public service career in the future and you were a Truman Scholar at some point in your academic journey, that's going to be known when you move in those circles moving forward in your future path. And because of that recognition and prestige that comes with it, again, they're highly competitive. But enter our office. That's why we're here to support ASU students and alumni in their pursuit of these awards. Oh, skipped too far ahead, sorry. So how does the Lorraine W. Frank Office of National Scholarships Advisement, or ONSA, here at ASU work with and support the ASU community in regards to these types of opportunities? So we are here to provide advising to students, both individually and in group settings. That can be general advising in kind of figuring out your overall goals and path forward, and how national scholarships can help you with that. And then it goes into individual advising regarding specific fellowships or scholarships that you're applying for. We provide information and guidance in ways such as this information session today, as well as other workshops. We go throughout the campus community to different events to share information and to different audiences within the university to share that information. And then we provide guidance through the application process. So that again is done through one-on-one advising, group advising, information sessions and workshops such as today, to help you through working on those highly competitive and sometimes overwhelming application processes. We're here to hopefully make it a little less so. And a bulk of our work is spent doing writing specific guidance. So we will do workshops for particular awards or in general to help you on your writing journey for these types of programs. And then we'll give you feedback and provide opportunities for peer and mentor feedback on your application materials as you're working towards applying for any of these awards. If the award you're applying for requires an interview at any point and you're selected for an interview, again, if that's a part of that process. It's not always, but sometimes it is. Then we will also help you prepare you for your interview, giving you general guidance and then also doing practice interviews with you. And finally, we also manage the campus endorsement or nomination process. So if you're applying for any award that requires you be nominated or endorsed by your university, our office is the one that's going to manage that. That does not mean we select who is nominated or endorsed by ASU. It just means that we manage the process of that nomination and endorsement. So we will collect in whatever way, depending on the specific award, all of the students who are applying for that award. We'll collect those applications by the campus deadline. We'll share them with a campus committee that is made up of staff and faculty from across the university. That campus committee will review those applications, sometimes interview those candidates, and then ultimately decide who receives nomination or endorsement from ASU. And then we'll communicate that back to the applicants, as well as providing feedback if relevant to the applicants. So if you ever see something through our database or elsewhere that is saying you need to be endorsed by your university, just know that we're the ones that are going to help you through that process. You do not have to just be nominated or endorsed by a department chair or a faculty member or president or anything like that. You just go through that application process for that campus endorsement or nomination. So in a nutshell, that's what national scholarships are and how our office supports with them. So again, today we're going to talk about public service awards specifically. So we advise on approximately 100 awards for undergraduate students, graduate students, and alumni. And today we're going to focus on a handful of those awards that are going to be directly or indirectly supportive of pursuing a public service career. And when we say public service, that can be going into politics, but it doesn't have to be. It can also be working for the government in a non-political way. And it can also be working for nonprofit or NGO organizations. That was a little repetitive, but so any and all of those ways, whether it's health focused, environmental focused, policy focused, education focused, right? So you can work in a lot of different industries and issues to be focusing on public service careers. But all of the awards in some way are going to help you on that journey, build your skills, experience, education background, and network towards pursuing the ultimate goal of having a public service career. So getting started, we're going to talk about some general funding awards that will help you with educational funding, either at the undergraduate or graduate level, that are focused in some form or fashion in those public service fields. So again, the first one, which I already name dropped earlier, is the Harry S. Truman Scholarship. Again, the premier scholarship for students who are planning to pursue public service careers, as well as planning to pursue graduate studies on their journey to their public service career. And again, that can be in any public service field, whether that's politics, government, nonprofit, NGO, health, education, international policy, whatever the case may be, as long as you are geared towards public service in your future career and you're going to pursue a graduate degree as part of that journey, then you can apply for the Truman Scholarship as a third-year undergraduate student. And if you're selected, that following summer and academic year, you'll participate in a variety of opportunities, from the Truman Leadership Week over the summer to ongoing advising and mentorship, and professional development to help you build towards applying to graduate school, attending graduate school, and ultimately your future career in public service. And then it also comes with $30,000 of funding towards your graduate studies when the time comes for you. So you apply as an undergraduate student, and then it comes with graduate funding in the future. And also, if you're a Truman Scholar, there's a lot of universities across the US that will provide additional funding to you beyond that $30,000 if you come to that school. This is one that requires campus nomination or endorsement. Whenever you see an award that has an asterisk next to the name in my presentation, that means it does require campus nomination or endorsement. So the Truman Scholarship is one of those. And this year's campus deadline, so when you need to submit your application for consideration of endorsement, is going to be November 14th. So coming up in just over a month from now, you'll need to be ready to submit that application. So moving on to the next one. And again, feel free to type any questions you have them as you have them in the chat. So another undergraduate funding scholarship is the Udall Scholarship. There's a few different Udall programs, but specifically the Udall Undergraduate Scholarship Program is for up to $7,000 in general funding towards your undergraduate studies. And there's a few different options of who would be best suited to this particular scholarship. If you are a Native American or Alaskan Native student who wants to pursue a career relating around tribal policy or Native healthcare, whether that's policy or not policy focused, then you are eligible to apply in that track of the Udall Undergraduate Scholarship. And on the other hand, if you are any undergraduate student who is planning to pursue an environmental focused career, which oftentimes those who are interested in environmental careers are taking their environmental career into the public service sector, not always, but oftentimes. And if that's the case for you, then you also may be eligible to apply for the Udall Undergraduate Scholarship underneath that track. So those are kind of two different, at least audiences or students with future goals that can both apply for the same scholarship and the same benefits, which in addition to the $7,000 of funding, you also participate in their scholar orientation over the summer, which is a leadership and professional development conference, and you become part of the Udall Alumni Network, and that often leads to additional mentorship, professional development, internship, and career opportunities. This is open to second and third year students specifically, and it is one that also requires nomination or endorsement. And that deadline is typically in the first week in February. We do not have it set quite yet for this year, but you can expect it to be around the first week in February. This is a relatively new one in terms of national scholarship opportunities. But this is for any second year undergraduate student who plans to have a future career in the public service fields. Again, this can be in any public service focus, whether that's education, policy, politics, government, international affairs, whatever the case may be. So it's not limited to any particular field of public service. Then you can potentially apply for the Voyager Scholarship. And this one provides a few different financial benefits. The first and foremost is up to $50,000 for general funding for your remaining 2 years of undergraduate studies. So very generous in terms of undergraduate scholarship programs. Additionally, you get a $10,000 stipend for a summer voyage. This is an internship or professional opportunity that you want to pursue over the summer between your junior and senior year of undergrad that would take you somewhere other than where you currently reside. And they'll pay you a stipend to help cover the costs of participating in that professional experience. They also have a leadership conference that their scholars participate in, and then you get continued travel stipends from Airbnb for 10 years after you graduate. So again, a few different financial components to this one. And the deadline is not announced yet, but we expect it to be sometime in March. This is not one that requires nomination or endorsement, so you would just look at the final deadline. The last one I'm going to talk about around general funding that you apply for as an undergraduate student. Even though that's not necessarily the main focus of this program, it does provide some general funding. is the Public Policy and International Affairs Junior Summer Institute. This is for those who want to pursue a public service career in either policy or international affairs, and that they want to pursue a graduate degree in either policy or international affairs or a related field in order to ultimately pursue that future career. This is a summer graduate school preparation program that you would engage in the summer between your junior and senior year of undergrad. So they provide you with graduate level courses, workshops, field trips, seminars, all revolved around preparing you for graduate studies, graduate school admissions, as well as an ultimate career in policy or international affairs. It comes with a minimum $5,000 scholarship towards your graduate studies. But if you participate in this program and then are admitted into one of their participating graduate programs, which is over 50 graduate programs in policy and or international affairs across the country, then those schools typically will offer much more than the minimum $5,000 scholarship, including up to full funding for your graduate degree. The deadline for this year, if you're wanting to apply for PPIA Junior Summer Institute, is November 1, which is coming up very quickly. It does not require nomination or endorsement. That is just the final national deadline. So if you're wanting to apply for that this year, you want to get started on your application immediately if you have not already. So these are all awards that pretty explicitly are looking for students that are focused in general in public service or in a particular field within public service. These next awards aren't necessarily looking for you to be explicitly focused in public service career fields in the future, but they can definitely be beneficial if that's what you're planning to pursue. And we'll first talk about some global or international awards. So these are opportunities that can take you abroad as an undergraduate student, and with a couple of them as a graduate student, as part of that journey to becoming a better leader and citizen that can help you with your future public service careers. So the Gilman International Scholarship is general study abroad funding for Pell Grant recipients who want to do a credit-bearing study abroad during undergraduate studies. If within your public service career, you want to specifically work with the federal government in the United States, the Gilman Scholarship is one program where if you've received the scholarship, in addition to the scholarship funds that you receive for study abroad, you then also receive non-competitive eligibility, which means in the future, you will be considered for federal employment that you apply for and are eligible for ahead of other applicants. So you're considered kind of like as an internal federal employee applicant when you apply for those positions that you're eligible for a certain time frame into the future after you've received the Gilman Scholarship. So this is a federal funded scholarship program, and you don't have to be wanting to work for the federal government in the future to be eligible for it. But if you do, it comes with that added benefit of kind of getting bumped to the top of the list when you apply for a federal job in the future, again, within a certain time frame. And there's a few other awards that I'm going to talk about today that also come with that added benefit. It's at the bottom of this page, but I'm going to mention the next one first, is the Boren Awards. So this is also a study abroad scholarship, but it's studying abroad to learn a language specifically. If you're wanting to study abroad to learn African or Asian or maybe some Middle Eastern or Eastern European languages, you may be able to apply for the Boren Awards to help fund that study abroad experience. This one also comes with that, well, excuse me, it doesn't come with non-competitive eligibility specifically, but it does come with a commitment that you work for the federal government for a minimum of 1 year after you're done with your academic journey. And because of that, you also have the added benefit of being considered ahead of a lot of other individuals applying for federal positions that you are eligible for when you apply for them. So again, if you're interested in working for the federal government in the future, and want to learn a language or further language skills in the meantime, the Boren Awards can help you on both of those paths. Additionally, the Critical Languages Scholarship is a summer study abroad program to learn one of 14 different languages. So you pick one of those languages and you apply to a summer institute where you would go to a country where that language is spoken and spend pretty much the entire summer there doing language and cultural immersion. They say that the equivalent of 1 year's language skills are acquired in that summer experience. And this one also comes with that non-competitive eligibility in the future if you apply for federal employment. This one also, like Gilman, does not require that you commit to federal employment in the future, but it does come with that benefit of getting bumped to the top of the list, so to speak, when you apply for the federal employment after you graduate. The Critical Languages Scholarship and the Boren Awards can be applied for anytime in undergrad or as a graduate student. So regardless of where you're at in that academic journey, as long as you're still a student at some level, then you could potentially apply for either of these awards. And with Critical Languages Scholarship, you can actually receive that one up to 2 times. So most national scholarships you can only receive once. This one you can actually receive 2 times. 2 times for the same language or pursuing 2 different languages. These other 3 on this page are for specific study abroad experiences. So the Fulbright UK Summer Institute is for first and second year undergraduates only to do a summer institute at a UK university. And it's fully funded for you to go and do that over the summer. This award will be opening soon and be due in February of this year. The Killam Fellowship is an exchange program with Canada. It's to spend 1 entire semester at a Canadian university during your undergraduate studies. And then finally, the Frederick Douglass Fellowship. This is a relatively new global fellowship that has a focus on civil rights and social justice. So if that is kind of what your focus area is within the realm of public service, is some kind of social justice or civil rights issues, then this study abroad program can help take you to different places around the world to learn more about social and civil rights within that place's own history. So for instance, last summer's program took participants to Washington, D.C., Ireland, and South Africa. The previous year, they went only to Ireland. So I don't know what this upcoming year will hold, but just know that if that's kind of your area of focus within the public service sector, that this may be a great opportunity for you to apply to when you're a first, second, or third year undergraduate student. So again, none of these are going to specifically line up with public service in general, but could be all great experiences, and in some cases have some added benefits if you're looking for particular areas of public service careers. I'm going to stop there for a moment. I haven't seen any questions come through the chat, but does anybody have questions right now? Okay, I'm going to keep it moving, but again, if you do have them, please feel free to type them into the chat at any time. Next, I want to talk about some internship opportunities. So these are ways that you can gain some semester-long, year-long, or summer-long internship experiences that, depending on what area of public service you want to go into, could be really great professional experience for you along the way. So if you're interested in working for the federal government in any way, and specifically with the Department of State, although you do not have to be planning to work with the Department of State only, they have a internship program for undergraduate students. There's virtual options and in-person options. So regardless of where you're at or what your focus is for an internship experience or limitations are, whether you can be in person or not, there may be a Department of State internship that would be well suited for gaining some experience in your area of interest. The Department of State has lots of different departments within that you can intern with. So that's one to look out for. And they'll have, depending on if you want to intern in the fall or the spring or over the summer, they'll have a variety of application windows throughout the year. If you're interested in exploring the Foreign Service, specifically within the U.S. Department of State, so that's one part of the Department of State is their Foreign Service, then the U.S. Foreign Service Internship Program is for second or third year undergraduate students to do a 2-year summer internship with the Foreign Service. The first summer you would be placed in Washington, D.C. at the Department of State. And the second summer you would go abroad to another country and be placed at the embassy in that country for the summer. Both summers you would be paid during that internship program. We're going to talk about some Foreign Service fellowships in a little bit that come with a commitment of working in the Foreign Service after you complete the program. The U.S. Foreign Service Internship Program does not come with that commitment. So if you're just interested in exploring that opportunity and gaining the skills and experience that the internship would allow you to, then you may be eligible to apply for the internship program without having that commitment to work in the Foreign Service in the future. The Department of State internship program in general and the U.S. Foreign Service internship program, those typically have very small application windows. So the Department of State internship program in general is open several times throughout the year. The Foreign Service internship program is only open in August. Typically, it's usually open in late August, early September. And they're usually only open for a couple of weeks at a time. So it's really important. And on their website, you can sign up to receive updates on when those applications are open. Because those ones, it's really important to kind of stay on the ball when they're becoming available so that you can get your application in pretty quickly. Another one is the Undergraduate Diversity Fellowship with the Asian Bureau of Research. This is a summer research internship. If your area of interest in terms of public service has to do with foreign policy and foreign policy with Asian countries specifically within the US, you can go to DC for the summer and do a research internship with the Asian Bureau of Research to gain some further experience in that realm, if that's part of the area of interest you have for your public service career. This you can apply for in your first, second, or third year of undergrad. And then finally, the Congress Bunistan Youth Exchange Program. This is actually a year-long program. You don't have to wait until you have your bachelor's degree to apply for it, but oftentimes we do see students wait until their final year of undergrad or after they've completed undergrad to apply for this program, just because it is a full year that you would be participating in it. So it's a program to go to Germany specifically. You spend the first 2 months doing language study. You spend a few months doing academic study in a field of interest to you, and then you do the final semester of the program doing a professional internship in a field of interest to you. So this is another one. You don't have to specifically be focused on a public service career, but if you are and gaining some international experience as part of your public service journey is of interest, then this could be a really great experience to gain international experience, study abroad experience, language experience, as well as a professional internship. So a lot of added benefit with the Congress Bunistan Youth Exchange Program. All right. And that's a good segue into specifically postgraduate experiences. So now I'm going to share with you a variety of opportunities that you can apply for as you're graduating or after you've graduated to have about a year-long experience in something that either directly or indirectly would align with a public service career. So first, the most general one and the largest program we advise on is the Fulbright U.S. Student Program. This is to spend an academic year abroad after you have a bachelor's degree. So it can be applied for any time from your final year of undergrad, after you've graduated with your bachelor's degree, while you're a graduate student, master's or PhD level, after you've completed a master's degree. The only time you can no longer apply for this program is after you have a PhD. And then they have a whole nother program you can apply for through Fulbright, but you just would no longer be eligible for the Fulbright U.S. Student Program. This is a U.S. Department of State program that comes with that non-competitive eligibility. So if you have your sights set on working for the federal government in some way, being a Fulbright alumni can be beneficial in, again, being considered at the top of the list when you apply for federal employment that you're eligible for afterwards. Again, you do not have to be wanting to pursue federal employment to be eligible for this program. You do not have to commit to federal employment if you're interested in the Fulbright U.S. Student Program, but it is beneficial to you if that's something that you have your sights set on. And you can get a year-long experience either doing academic study, research, or teaching English in another country for about an academic year. The campus deadline for this one is September, so that's one where that nomination or endorsement is looked for. So keep that in mind. Then if you specifically would like to go to India for a year, there's the Banyan Fellowship. This is where they place you, they say, in a volunteer position with an organization throughout India. But then they pay you a stipend while you're there. So because they're more like government NGO type placements, and because it's considered a volunteer role, again, even though they pay you a stipend to cover your costs while you're there, this definitely lends itself to wanting to pursue that public service type career in the future, especially if there's any alignment with what you're interested in and things that are going on in India or relevant to India. The James C. Gator Junior Fellows Program is a year-long research writing fellowship that happens in DC. So if you're interested in policy, US policy, and you want to gain some more writing and research experience around your interest in policy specifically, then as a graduating senior, you can apply for the Gator Fellowship. And that one does require that nomination or endorsement and is coming due in December. So something you would want to get started on relatively soon if you're planning to apply for. And then last but not least is a relatively new one. This is the Colin Powell Leadership Fellowship. This is to get experience and then begin working in the federal government on the civil service side. So there's the civil service, which is not foreign service, which we're going to talk about next, and I mentioned briefly already. But if you want to work for the federal government and with the Department of State within their civil service, within a variety of different realms that are relevant to that, then the Colin Powell Leadership Fellowship can help you gain a year-long experience in a department of interest to you within the civil service, as well as leadership development and mentorship. And then you would be set up to begin working in the civil service with the federal government after you complete that fellowship program. That application hasn't opened yet, so I'm not sure when they will be due this year. Another note is they do have some undergraduate internship opportunities through this overall program as well. I'm not as familiar with those right now because we really haven't had any students pursuing those through our office, But if you're a current undergraduate student and that one sounds of interest, going into the civil service with the federal government potentially, know that there's some internships as undergraduates that you might be able to apply for as well. All right, next we're going to talk about graduate fellowships. These are opportunities that can help fund your graduate studies, depending on where you want to go, what you want to study, and what you want to do in the future. So first, there's the Foreign Service Fellowships specifically. These are, I've mentioned them a couple times already. So if your public service career, you want to be focused with working with the Foreign Service with the United States specifically. So these are typically US citizens who are posted abroad in a range of different roles, depending on which department you work with and kind of what position you hold. But if you want to work abroad as a representative of the US within their foreign service in some form or fashion, and you want to pursue graduate studies as part of that journey, then one or more of these fellowships may be of interest to you. I'm going to break down what each one of them focuses on, but in terms of their similarities first, they all come with general funding towards your graduate degree, a 2-year graduate degree at a US university. They come with funding towards tuition and fees, living stipend, as well as 2 summer internships that are paid. One summer internship takes place in the US in Washington, D.C., and one summer internship takes place abroad at an embassy or mission abroad. And then after you've completed your graduate degree and the fellowship program, you would then begin your work as a Foreign Service officer or specialist within the Foreign Service and be committed to a minimum of 5 years working with the Foreign Service with that specific department. So this is one of those that not only helps you pursue that, but is also going to directly place you in it and has that commitment that you stay with it for a minimum of 5 years. If you want to work as a Foreign Service officer, so this is more of a generalist within the Foreign Service with the U.S. Department of State specifically, then Pickering and Rangel are the 2 fellowships that you'll want to look at applying for. They're both the same. They're just it's 2 separate opportunities. The applications are the same. They're due a week apart in September. You can apply as a graduating senior or after you've already graduated, as long as you're planning to pursue graduate studies the following year. If you want to be an IT specialist within the U.S. Department of State Foreign Service, then the Foreign Affairs IT Fellowship, or FATE, is the one you want to look at. So all of the same benefits and parameters, except for you wouldn't be a generalist in the Foreign Service, you would be an information management specialist, so focusing within IT specifically for the Foreign Service. Similarly, if you want to be a diplomatic security officer, so these are the safety and security folks that keep our Foreign Service officers and specialists safe while abroad, there's the Clark DS Fellowship. Again, all of the same benefits and parameters, except for you would become a security officer within the Foreign Service when you complete the fellowship instead of an information specialist or a generalist Foreign Service officer. If you want to work with the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID specifically, as opposed to the Department of State and their Foreign Service, then the Payne Fellowship is what you would want to look at applying for. Again, 2-year graduate fellowship, internships over the summer, funding for your graduate studies, and then you begin work as a Foreign Service officer for a minimum of 5 years with that agency after you're done. And last but not least is the newest one, and that's the one listed at the bottom. They changed their acronym this year, so I'm going to try to get it right. Foreign Agricultural Services, International Affairs, and then I forget. But this is if you want to work with the USDA specifically, and your area of focus within Foreign Service is agricultural. So that's much more specialized, that you have an interest in working in agricultural services in the future. But again, besides that, the parameters, the benefits are all the same. It's just then you go into work with the USDA and you have more of a focus in agricultural issues as opposed to IT or security or just general international affairs and diplomacy. Right. So any and all of those could help you go into the foreign service if that's your focus for your public service future. These next three on this page are more general. They are not directly related to foreign service or public service, but they are graduate fellowships that can help fund or fully fund graduate studies, regardless of what you want to pursue for your graduate studies. But they are looking for folks who really have an interest in and potential to make a difference in the future, whatever future that may hold for them. And oftentimes folks who want to make a positive change in the future with their career are focused in public service careers. So that's why I've included them here, even though you don't have to explicitly be focused in a public service career for the future to be eligible for these next three. So if you want to pursue graduate studies in any field at Stanford University, then the Knight Hennessy Fellowship is a leadership and interdisciplinary fellowship for Stanford University graduate students and professional students. And if you're admitted to your grad program at Stanford and into the Knight Hennessy Fellowship, then it is fully funded for you to attend. Similarly, the McDonnell International Scholars Program is for participating graduate and professional programs at Washington University in St. Louis specifically. So if you're admitted to your grad program of choice to Washington University and to the McDonnell Scholars International Academy, then your graduate school will be completely funded and you'll participate in ongoing leadership development, mentorship, and an interdisciplinary cohort. And last but not least is the Sandvid Scholars Program. This one is relatively new. It is not full funding, but it's very generous funding towards graduate studies at any US-based university, but also interdisciplinary and also comes with ongoing like leadership development and mentorship opportunities in the field relevant to what you want to pursue. So again, if you're focusing on going to a US-based institution, some of these, all of these, one of these might be of interest to you in your journey towards your public service career. If you would like to go to the UK or Ireland for graduate studies, these do not have a focus on, you don't have to be planning a public service career for these fellowships either. But again, they are looking for folks who want to have a positive impact in the future, in their culture, in their community, in their society, in some form or fashion. So whether that's environmental or healthcare or education, something else, then one of these or more than one of these may be of interest to you. If you want to go to Oxford University specifically, then the Rhodes Scholarship may be of interest to pursue. This is probably the most competitive and most prestigious and oldest in terms of national scholarship. So keeping that in mind, but if there's a program at Oxford University that's going to be beneficial for you and whatever you want to do in the future, then you may want to look into the Rhodes Scholarship. The Marshall Scholarship can fund graduate studies at any UK-based university, so whether that's Oxford or somewhere else. And then Mitchell is if you want to go to any university based in Ireland specifically. All three of these do require nomination or endorsement from ASU in order to apply, and that's typically due in August. So it's important to keep in mind these have a very early deadline during your final year of undergrad or the following year, depending on when and what award you want to apply for. So keeping in mind that very early deadline is going to be important. A couple that do not require nomination or endorsement, there's the Gates Cambridge. That's if you want to go to Cambridge University in the UK specifically. Also, in all of these are interdisciplinary. So the four that I've mentioned already, you can be pursuing any graduate program at those universities. This next one is specifically if you are interested in policy and politics, specifically, and you're going to be going to Queen's University in Ireland, then there's the Hillary Rodham Clinton Award for Peace and Reconciliation. So this one aligns a little bit more closely with public service specifically, but again, doesn't have to be focused on public service, but you do need to be focused on like more of the policy and politics and international peace arena. Then the HRC Award for Peace and Reconciliation may be of interest. There's also a variety of other specialized awards for various UK-based universities, depending on what area of interest you're looking to pursue specifically. We do have our British Tea event that happens in March. So if you're interested in studying abroad in the UK specifically and potentially applying for any of these awards to help you do that, I would strongly encourage you to check out that British Tea. It does happen in person on the Tempe campus, but it's a great opportunity to hear from ASU folks who have done graduate studies in the UK and through one or more of these awards specifically. And they share really great insight into what it means to study in the UK because their system is very different than ours, but also in the application process. If you can't attend the British Tea for whatever reason, we also have a virtual like informational session on the British Awards that we offer in around the same time in March. So keep an eye out for those if you're interested. So again, these are just a snapshot of some of the awards we advise on and some that can directly or indirectly help you towards a public service career, depending on what your focus within public service is. Any and all of these would be good stepping stones for your future goals. But they are not all of the awards that we advise on again. So just keep in mind that any of these options and possibly others may be of interest to you now or in the future. I will send the recording of this presentation as well as a list that includes all of the awards that I've mentioned, as well as a few others that I just didn't have time to include in today's presentation that have a particular focus or can be beneficial to those who are pursuing public service in the future. So be on the lookout for that in your email. So next, we're going to talk about some next steps. So one of the most common questions that we get from students and alumni who have their sights set on applying for these types of programs now or in the future is, am I a good applicant? Am I competitive? Am I qualified? Should I apply? And the answer is going to be, it depends. And we're typically not going to give you a yes or no on that. But some things to consider in applying for any and all of these awards is the readers or selection committees, whether that's selection for nomination or endorsement or the national selection committees, typically are looking at a few different things. First, yes, they are looking at your academic and scholarly record. So maintaining a strong academic record during your studies is going to be important. How strong of an academic record is going to vary depending on the specific award you want to apply for, though. So it can mean very different things depending on each award. Some have very set GPA requirements and some do not. Some don't have those requirements, but have them kind of informally. We can help you navigate all of that. But in general, it's going to be important to try to maintain a pretty strong academic record to be competitive for these awards. That doesn't just mean your GPA, though. It also means the level of challenge that comes with the courses that you've taken, and it comes with your other scholarly activities. So if research is part of your focus, have you participated in research activities beyond the classroom? If writing is part of your focus, have you participated in additional writing opportunities? So other scholarly or academic experiences that you've had that aren't necessarily going to be just displayed on your transcripts or through your GPA. They're also all looking for leaders. They want to see that you have been and will be a leader in whatever realm it is that is important to you and that you're focused on. So they want to see through your application materials that you have been a leader and that you have been of service to your community, whether that's your college community, your community from where you grew up, or where you currently reside. So in what ways have you been of service and been a leader in a variety of ways? And that doesn't just mean that I held a title. Okay, you can demonstrate your leadership and service in ways beyond a title, and just having a title isn't going to show the reader that either. And at the very beginning, you may remember I said that these are all mission-driven opportunities. They are funded by entities that have a specific mission in mind, and these scholarships and fellowships are a way of pushing forward that particular mission. So is your personal purpose and mission in life and in your future goals and the things that you've already done and want to do in the future, does that align with what they're trying to achieve? And do you show through your activities and through your application materials that you have a real potential to have an impact on whatever that mission or purpose is for yourself and for this particular award? So they want to know that this particular opportunity is going to help you on your journey towards helping others in whatever realm that means. So some next steps is just stay focused on who you are, what your goals are, what's important to you. Now and in the future, take time to review the database on our website, onsa.asu.edu, arpsa.asu.edu. We have a scholarships tab, which goes over a list of not just these awards, but all of the others that we advise on. So review that database, review other awards or opportunities and resources that may be available to you now or become available to you in the future. Keep a list for yourself of any of these opportunities that you think might help you in achieving whatever goals or purpose that you have for yourself. And make sure that you take note of specific requirements. Are you eligible? Not just is this award going to help you in whatever your goals are, but are you actually eligible for it? Or will you be eligible for it in the future at some point? And what are the deadlines to be aware of? Oftentimes we have students come to us, in November saying, I want to apply for such and such award, or I want to do this kind of thing. And there may be an award that can help them do that. But the deadline passed in like September or October or the previous day or the previous week. So as you're going through and taking note of any of these awards that I've covered today or on our database that are of interest to you, make sure you know when those deadlines typically are. And another way to kind of become more informed about that particular opportunity, who makes an ideal candidate, whether to try to assess for yourself whether you're an ideal candidate for that specific award, is to read some of the profiles that for their current and previous scholars or fellows of that program. Those are oftentimes posted on their website for any particular award. We also do news articles when students are nominated or selected for awards that we advise on. So read through those kinds of profiles through our news page or through the specific awards scholar profiles, and just with a particular attention to not necessarily who those scholars are, but what kinds of things have they done and are they planning to do? And does that seem to align with who you are, what you're doing, and what you want to do in the future? So if you go to our website, onsa.asu.edu, this is what it will look like, at least currently. And this arrow right here is pointing to scholarships in the upper left-hand side of that page. So that's where you're going to find a complete database of awards we advise on. You can filter by different things like your academic year or your particular area of interest. or the type of experience that you're looking for. Are you looking for an international experience? Are you looking for graduate funding specifically? So you can apply different filters to kind of narrow down your choices. If and when you're ready, you can schedule an appointment under the advising subheading on the right-hand side. You can make an appointment, just a general appointment, to kind of talk through what your interests are, what awards you might want to apply for, get some help identifying what awards you want to apply for, ask questions about a variety of options you're considering. And then once you're actually certain on, I'm applying for the Truman Scholarship, you can also schedule appointments to get advising on that specific award, as well as getting feedback on your application for that specific award. And if you have not already, I'll just make a final plug to sign up for our weekly bulletin. This is something that we send out once a week to inform on our upcoming sessions, like today's session, upcoming deadlines that will be approaching shortly, as well as new awards that have opened. And we also publish or include our published news articles and recordings of previous sessions. So a great place to stay passively up to date on all things national scholarships and fellowships. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to hearing from you all and hopefully meeting with you soon. Have a great afternoon.